Alright everyone, machine guns are legal. Now, there are several technical caveats here with regards to the NFA, Bruen, firearm technology, etc. Link in the description, archived of course. Federal judge in Kansas, Judge Brooks, actually, just ruled the other day in favor of a gun owner there that had a Glock switch and an automatic weapon. And, of course, the Glock switch, technically speaking, converts certain firearms into technically automatic weapons. To be clear, a dedicated machine gun, like an actual Tommy gun, is legal to own in the United States under federal law. They are extremely expensive, but you can obtain them. I think entry levels like $20K or something like that. So, you know, you're spending the price of a decent used car at a bare minimum to get one that might be a little bit glitchy and problematic. If you want something that's been fully properly maintained, I don't even know what the fucking price would be. You can also get select fire weapons. They are legal in the United States. They have to be registered. You have to pay a tax stamp for them. You have to find someone willing to sell to you, which might be difficult, but they are legal. That being said, converting a weapon so that it can feasibly automatically fire generally is held to be illegal under the NFA. This federal judge disagrees and says, no, under the Bruen decision, automatic weapon wouldn't be specifically unusual, as the founders would have suggested. In fact, the founders probably would have wanted a fucking weapon like that. Can you imagine Thomas Jefferson inspecting the Tommy gun? He would have loved it. He would have said, I'm ordering several of these bad boys, and then he would have gone hunting with them. He would have gotten drunk off of beer that at the time was generally spruce instead of hop, so he would have been stamming it up. He would have been staggering around the woods, and the first deer he saw, he would have cut it in half. Benjamin Franklin would have tried to disassemble one and reassemble it, and been like, this is interesting. How can we introduce electricity into the system? Can we fire electric bullets? Probably would have killed himself in the process. George Washington would have wanted one. He would have hung one on his wall, and then he would have used the other one as his liberty teeth. The founders would have countenanced the concept of automatic weapons. They would have loved them. They wouldn't just have accepted and tolerated them. They would have thought they were fucking great. And then like, hey, that's better than any fireworks celebration. Hit me up. Get me another drum, Marge. That's what they would have done. They would have enjoyed them. Machine guns are self-evidently legal. Now, here's the precedent, and I don't think this is discussed in the actual docket filing. Here's the precedent. They're already legal. You're just not allowed to manufacture them. And so under the NFA, the concept is that by putting a switch on your Glock or something like that, or using a bump stock, that one's up in the air, that you've converted a weapon to automatic fire. That's the crime. It's not the possession of an automatic weapon. You can buy them. They are perfectly legal. That's going to be used as a precedent. My hope is that the NFA is directly challenged upon appeal, and it goes before the Supreme Court, and that's basically the argument that they make. It's not my expectation, but it's my hope. Under the Bruen decision, the court has said that you need to have a precedent, a historical precedent for any form of anti-gunnery. Well, there's no historical precedent for this kind of anti-gunnery. The federal government has never fully outlawed automatic weapons. They've simply prevented people from converting weapons so that they can automatically fire. But that's clearly covered under the Second Amendment. Quite clearly, the weapon is no different other than you've put a piece of metal on it. And that can be done, by the way, accidentally. There was a case years ago. A dude had a chip of metal fall into his handgun, and it automatically fired. The ATF showed up, or the FBI, one or the other, and they arrested him and successfully charged him with the possession of an automatic weapon. It was literally an accident. It's just a fucking chip of metal. But he automatically fired it. For that moment, he had converted it into an automatic weapon. I would note that you can bump fire without a bump stock, by the way. I saw one video of a fat dude. He had a handgun, and he held it against his stomach, and it basically automatically fired. I don't know how useful these things would be, but they are protected under the Second Amendment. It's like when you have laws against attachments for weapons. Well, God, they're not even weapons in and of themselves. Suppressors and things of that nature. This optic has been banned because it's too good. It might allow a civilian to kill a cop or something like that. This is always the excuse that they make. This federal judge had the prescience to understand that the founders would not have had a problem with automatic weapons. They didn't have a problem with semi-automatic weapons. They didn't have a problem with explosives. They didn't have a problem with people literally buying cannons, or casting them themselves sometimes, and loading them on merchant vessels. People owned privately held cannons for an extended period of time. I think they're still legal too. Try manufacturing your own black powder, though. I think the government will probably have a problem with that as well. And that's funny. Because sometimes the liberals will say, well, you're just being alarmist. We're not trying to confiscate the guns. Then why do I hear so many liberal commentators trying to do the workaround trick? Where they say, well, we can't go after the guns. Let's just ban all of the ammo for them and stuff like that. I mean, this is an argument that's being seriously made by certain individuals. Yeah, they may be at the fringe, but they do exist. They are there. They're making the argument quite publicly and quite literally, and it's a big problem. So machine guns are ruled legal, specifically modifying a weapon into an automatic weapon. In this case, the Glock switch is a modification. The Glock in and of itself, that you bought, is not an automatic weapon. It's just a semi-automatic handgun. Like I've got one literally on me right now. I've got a Glock 17. If I were to put a Glock switch on it, I could fire it automatically. I'm uninclined to do so because the accuracy would probably be low, and I don't understand what particular usefulness it would bring. I would prefer accuracy over rate of fire for the average engagement. Just like I'm probably not going to have to strafe down a sniper tomorrow. I'm more likely to have to ward off like a bear that staggered into the yard, or maybe a rabid coyote or something like that. Well, I think that I want accuracy in that situation. While it would be fun maybe to blast a bear in the face full auto, I'd prefer to just take 1 or 2 shots and drop it at a distance. Like, I don't want to get too close because that sounds rather dangerous. In fact, the only reason to have a Glock switch in the first place is basically for show. Ha ha ha, yeah, full auto. I mean, it's fun, but again, it doesn't serve necessarily the greatest purpose. But it should be legal. There's no reason for it to be illegal. The average person that you think that the average criminal is interested in buying a Glock switch? Maybe to strafe people down on a drive-by, but the thing is, they're going to illegally modify their weapon anyway, so it doesn't really matter. They'll make their own switch or modify the weapon in some other way. I'd rather have a Gatling crank. I want to get a .22 Hornet rifle that's been modified to be belt-fed and then has a Gatling crank on it. That would be fun. Couldn't have that here in the state of Vermont, unfortunately. Our state laws are all fucked with regards to guns, but if we go over to New Hampshire, if I move to Claremont or something like that, there'll be no problem. So I applaud this decision, and I hope that it ends up before SCOTUS. The NFA needs to die. This court needs to reaffirm its authority under Bruen. It'll raise hell with the liberals, it'll get them all drived up the wall, but ignore them, because the Constitution matters more than their fee-fees. That's about all. Peace out.